So today we're going to replace the engine on this Ariens ST724 snowblower. This unit is from 1979. It has a Tecumseh 7 horsepower engine on it. And this engine's been a pretty dependable engine, but starting to have some problems. And for an engine that's as old as it is, I'm going to try something different this time around. So we're going to work on putting a new engine on this. It's going to be a Predator engine from Harbor Freight. So we're going to take this engine off, and I'm going to show you how they compare. Alright, one thing that I want to point out is that when I took the Tecumseh engine off, the way that it was mounted on in this location, and those two on the other side, a stud or a bolt was run up from the bottom and then welded in place or tacked in place by the Ariens company. That bolt sticking up was not long enough for the new Predator engine to mount to, because the Predator engine base is thicker than what the Tecumseh was. So I ended up cutting and grinding those bolts off. Then I drilled and tapped so that these are now 5/16 thread. And so what I'll do when I put the new Predator engine on is to run a bolt down from above, and that'll bolt the new engine on. So that's what was necessary. Otherwise the holes, the bolts that were there, lined up perfectly with the Predator engine. So no need to change the location of the holes. Another thing I want to point out is that this bracket here, this is for turning the chute, and it comes up this way. And then when you crank here, all I had to do to make this so it wasn't hitting the Predator engine was to bend it a little bit. I bent it forward, and now the Predator engine sits above it, and you'll see that a little bit later in the video. So let's take a look at these engines. Alright, so here are the two engines, basically shaft to shaft, and what I wanted to show you is the base. See, the base of the Tecumseh engine is pretty thin, and the bolt that bolted it on didn't need to be very long. If you take a look at the Predator engine, the base is a lot thicker, so you need to use a different hardware to mount that on. Another thing I want to point out is that you can see it from here. Get it in the light. I'm putting it shaft to shaft to show you that the height is the same there. So that doesn't have to be modified that way. But what does need to be modified, you'll see that 1-inch shaft on the Tecumseh, 3/4 inch shaft on the Predator. So I got a solution to that. And the solution to that is this bad boy right here. This bad boy will slip over the end of that shaft, and got this off of eBay for $10, free shipping. It also came with the key that's going to be needed, and that will basically make this 3/4 shaft a 1-inch shaft. So this thing should bolt out pretty easily. Alright, so here's the Predator engine. Here's the adapter I mentioned before to make the shaft into a 1-inch shaft. This is a special key that came with it. It's a little larger, obviously, needs to be. And then you take the adapter here, and let's see if I can do this. It's pretty snug, which it should be. And tap it on the end. Of course, I'll have to make sure that the keyway lines up, and for that I'll need 2 hands, but I'll take care of that real quick and get right back to you. Alright, so here's the new shaft adapter. So we now have a 1-inch shaft on this Predator engine. Alright, so here's the actual pulley that's needed for the snowblower. And I cleaned that all out. And what I'm going to do is put some anti-seize on this shaft. But in theory, you'll see here that it will go on there. And then we'll bolt the engine down and get the belts put on. Give her a run. Alright, now I've got anti-seize lubricant on there. And we'll see about putting this pulley on there. And actually, if I pull this out, the whole adapter sleeve stays with it, and the keyway. So let's get that back on where it belongs. There we go. All right, so here we're looking at the pulley on the end of the engine shaft, and I put that adapter in there, and it turns out the adapter is so snug inside the pulley that it stayed put. Which means that the set screws here that are supposed to keep this thing in place on the original shaft aren't going to do any good because they're pressing on the adapter sleeve. So what's going to happen here? I also picked up some machine bushings, 3/4 inch inside diameter. I'm going to put on the end here so that the pulley stays out a little bit, lined up with the belt. I'll slide that on the end, and then I've got here is a 5/16 fine threaded bolt. This one happens to be 1 inch long. This is a 5/16 24. And what I'm going to do is to use a combination of a lock washer and a fender washer and screw this into the end. Tighten that up. Alright, I'm going to snug it up better than that, but you'll see. So basically what I want to be able to do is to have this line up with the belts straight up and down. So let me tighten that up, get this all put back together, and get back to you. Alright, so here we've got the engine bolted down, and you'll see that the belts line up. I happen to have 4 machine bushings in here to space it out, and looks good. One more thing I'm going to consider doing is to add some pipe here and then down, so for oil changing purposes it's going to be a little bit less messy. Alright, so let's get this thing back together and add some oil to it. Alright, so it's been oiled up, it's been gassed up, and the last thing I'm going to do before I fire it up for its first start, and I'm going to let it run for about 3 hours according to the instructions for break-in, but it is a snowblower engine now, and so snowblower engines don't typically have air filters, so I am going to pull the air filter off. Alright, let's get this bad boy started. Alright, to start it up for the very first time, I'm going to reach down here, put the kill switch on the on position, slide the gas lever in the on position, this is the throttle, and then this is the run position of a choke, and that's the start position. So we'll put it in start position, That's slow. That's fast. And let's give her a pull, see what happens.